I've spent the last few months being pretty critical of KATSEYE, the brand void, the identity crisis. The way HYBE and Geffen seem to be treating these women as content farms instead of artists. None of that has changed. Those problems are real, and honestly, they might be getting worse. But here is what has been haunting me lately. What if KATSEYE's failures aren't the exception? What if they're the beta test? Because here is what I've realized. The model behind KATSEYE international casting, systematic training, algorithmic content strategy, global from day one positioning, that model isn't going anywhere. Other companies are watching, taking notes, getting ready to launch their own versions. KATSEYE might stumble, they might even fail, but what they represent, that is already won. So today, I want to talk about something uncomfortable, not whether KATSEYE is good, we've covered that, but why everything wrong with them is still going to become the template for the next decade of pop music. And why that should genuinely concern you. Let's start with some context that doesn't get discussed enough. The music industry has been quietly restructuring itself for years, and KATSEYE is a symptom, not a cause. Think about what has changed in the last decade. Streaming killed album sales. TikTok compressed the attention window to 15 seconds. The algorithm became the new gatekeeper. And suddenly, the old path to stardom, years of development, slow fan base building, organic growth, became economically unviable. Not difficult, unviable. When a song needs to hook someone in 3 seconds, or get swiped away, you can't afford to let artists develop naturally. When streaming pays fractions of a cent per play, you can't invest in long-term artist development without guaranteed returns. The industry responded by doing what industries do. It optimized. K-pop had already figured this out. Systematic training, strategic content, engineered virality, high-frequency releases. The results spoke for themselves, BTS, Blackpink. And others became global phenomena using methods that Western labels had dismissed as too manufactured. HYBE and Geffen looked at this and asked a logical question. What if we applied K-pop methodology to a global group from the start? That is KATSEYE, an experiment in whether the K-pop system can work without the K-pop context. The experiment has problems, but the hypothesis is already spreading. Now, let me be absolutely clear. I am not defending HYBE and Geffen's execution. The brand void is real, the strategy whiplash is real, the way they've treated these members, putting them in positions they didn't sign up for, hiding their actual talents behind walls of processing, prioritizing controversy over artistry, that is all real and it is all bad. I've said it before, this isn't artist development, it is content farming. But here is what I've had to accept. The problems with KATSEYE are problems of execution, not problems of the model. A badly run restaurant doesn't prove that restaurants are a bad idea. It proves that restaurant needs better management. KATSEYE's identity crisis isn't evidence that global groups can't work. It is evidence that this particular global group was launched without a clear vision. KATSEYE's brand void isn't proof that systematic training produces soulless artists. It is proof that the people making decisions didn't give these artists a soul to express. The members have personalities, they have stories, they have talents. Dream Academy showed us all of that. The problem is that everything since then has been flattening those qualities instead of amplifying them. That is a strategy failure, not a model failure. And other companies, they're watching KATSEYE's mistakes and thinking, we can do this better. KATSEYE is version 1.0 buggy, inconsistent, frustrating, but version 2.0 is already in development somewhere. Let me tell you why this model will survive KATSEYE's problems. It is not about artistry, it is about economics. Traditional artist development, signing someone young, letting them grow, releasing music over years, building a fan base organically. That model requires something the modern industry doesn't have: patience. The average major label artist who doesn't hit in their first 2 years gets dropped. The average A&R executive stays in their role for 3 years before moving on. The average streaming listener decides whether they like a song in under 10 seconds. Nobody in this system has incentive to wait. So what do? You compress the timeline, you take talented people, train them intensively in every skill they'll need, give them access to top-tier collaborators from day one, and launch them with maximum visibility. Is it romantic? Is it humane? Debatable? Does it work economically? Yes. KATSEYE got a Grammy nomination in under 2 years. They're performing at Coachella, they have Fendi partnerships. By industry metrics, this model is producing results. The results might be hollow, the brand might be confused. The members might deserve better creative direction, but the spreadsheets look good. And in this industry, spreadsheets determine what gets repeated. The model survives because it delivers short-term returns. The tragedy is that short-term returns are all anyone is measuring. Here is the part that keeps me up at night. What is the alternative? Go back to traditional development. That system produced its own problems. Artists dropped after one album, predatory contracts, years of struggle with no guarantee of success. For every artist who made it organically, hundreds disappeared without anyone noticing. Reject systematic training entirely. That just means the artists who can afford private coaching, family connections, and financial safety nets succeed, while talented people without those advantages never get a chance. Return to pure artistic vision. In an algorithm-driven economy, pure artistic vision without strategic support is just expensive obscurity. I am not saying KATSEYE represents the ideal future. I am saying I can't identify a better alternative that actually functions in the current industry structure. The choice isn't between KATSEYE's model and some purer, better system. The choice is between KATSEYE's model executed poorly and KATSEYE's model executed well. And that is what makes this conversation important. Because if this is the direction we're heading, and I believe it is, then we need to be talking about how to make it better, not pretending we can stop it. Criticizing KATSEYE is easy. Proposing a viable alternative is hard. Until someone does, this model wins by default. So what would a better version of this model look like? I've talked before about what KATSEYE specifically needs to fix. Clearer brand identity, define member roles, consistent musical direction, actual vocal showcasing. But let's think bigger. What would a well-executed global group look like? First, emotional architecture from day one, not just aesthetics, but an actual emotional truth that guides every decision. Love yourself for BTS, The Revolution for Blackpink. Something that gives fans a reason to invest beyond just they're talented. KATSEYE launched without this. The next group doesn't have to. Second, member individuality as a feature, not a bug. The K-pop system understands this. Clear roles, distinct personalities, reasons to choose a bias. KATSEYE flattened their members into interchangeable performers. That is a choice. And it was the wrong one. Third, creative involvement as part of the plan. Not immediately. These are young artists who need guidance, but with a clear timeline toward more creative input. By year 3, members will co-write. By year 5, members will have creative direction input. Something that shows investment in their development as artists, not just as performers. Fourth, quality over controversy. Gnarly worked commercially. Internet Girl pushed the same formula, but neither showcased what these women can actually do. A better version of this model would use systematic resources to amplify talent, not hide it. None of this is impossible. It just requires companies to think beyond quarterly metrics. The model isn't the enemy. Short-sighted execution is, and that can change if enough people demand it. Here is why I am making this video. Because the conversation around KATSEYE usually falls into two camps: defenders who excuse every problem, critics who want the whole model to fail. I don't think either position is useful. KATSEYE's problems are real. The members deserve better. The creative direction has been a mess. HYBE and Defen have prioritized virality over artistry. All true. And also, this model is the future. Other companies are building their own versions. The economics support it. The infrastructure exists. It is happening whether we like it or not. What I want is for people to hold both of these things at once. Criticize the execution, demand better for the members. Call out the brand void and the strategy whiplash and the content farming. But also recognize that the way to get better outcomes isn't to reject the model entirely. It is to push for better versions of it. Because if we just dismiss everything as manufactured and walk away, the companies will keep optimizing for clicks instead of artistry. They'll keep launching groups without emotional cores. They'll keep treating artists as replaceable content. The only pressure that changes corporate behavior is consumer pressure, and that requires engagement, not dismissal. So here is my question for you. If you accept that this model is spreading global casting, systematic training, algorithmic strategy, what would make it acceptable to you? What would a well-executed version look like? Not what you wish existed in some ideal world. What would actually make you support a group built this way? Because I genuinely believe that conversation matters. The companies are watching. The next version is being planned right now, and the feedback they hear shapes what gets built. KATSEYE might be the cautionary tale, but what comes after them? That is still being written. Drop your thoughts below. Let's have this conversation, and if you are new here, I make videos breaking down music industry strategy and what is actually happening behind the scenes. Subscribe if that interests you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.